Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another video. Thought we'd do a little match reaction to Everton's final pre-season game, our 1-0 win versus Sporting on Saturday. I apologise that this video is a couple of days late. I actually couldn't make it to the game because I had some prior arrangements that I had to attend to, so unfortunately I wasn't at the game, but I have watched the highlights, I've watched a lot of the moments, and I thought, you know what, we'll sit down, we'll have a little bit of a discussion about it, we'll have a little bit of a discussion about pre-season in general, of course, with the Premier League season right around the corner, and we'll just sort of summarise how the last few weeks of pre-season have been. We will obviously be doing a season preview ahead of the ahead of the opening game of the season on Saturday. That will probably come on Thursday or Wednesday, and obviously we'll be doing an individual game preview to that opening day fixture against Fulham. But I thought we'd sit down today, we'll have a little bit of a discussion about the Sporting win and just in general about how we're feeling at the end of pre-season, or you know, certainly coming towards the end of pre-season now. I know there's an argument that pre-season doesn't officially end until the first game of the season, but we certainly have seen you know, the majority of what we are going to see before the Premier League season kicks off. So yeah, just in terms of the performance, as I said, I wasn't able to actually get to the game, but I have watched the highlights, the extended highlights, and I've watched various different clips and stuff from the game. Again, it was a win. You know, pre-season is you know, often spoken about as a period of time where results don't really matter too much, and where it's more about fitness and it's more about performances and it's more about actually being able to see a plan and being able to see a system as opposed to the final result, which is of course not the case when it comes down to the competitive football and when it comes down to the Premier League. But it was another win. You know, Everton were unbeaten in this pre-season, of course, not conceding many goals, only conceding in Switzerland, and then obviously in that behind closed doors game against Monza last week. So another clean sheet as well, which is obviously is massively positive. And to end pre-season unbeaten is something that I think is definitely an advantage going into the Premier League season. Although, you know, results aren't really the paramount sort of you know, aim for pre-season, and Sean Dyche has come out and spoke you know, multiple times about how getting the players' fitness, you know, up there, and you know, ultimately having the players being able to go out there and perform for 90 minutes without any sort of tiredness, and being able to do that at a consistent on a consistent basis throughout the course of the season is the most important thing, and that is the sort of primary aim for pre-season, is to ensure that that fitness is there. It's still nice to be able to sort of watch a game of football and watch your team win, even though it wouldn't have been the end of the world had Everton had lost on Saturday, and it wouldn't have been the end of the world had Everton had lost, you know, any of the other pre-season games. And I'm not by any sense of the imagination saying that the performances in those games were brilliant and Everton were fantastic, and we should take positive from that, because they weren't. I was at Wigan a couple of weeks ago and I thought we were really sort of bang average, and that was coming up against the lower league opposition. And I remember watching the Stoke game and I thought we were poor, the Bolton game I thought we were poor, and by all accounts on Saturday we weren't absolutely brilliant. We won the game, but we weren't brilliant. But you know, it is important to win games of football, regardless of whether it's in pre-season or regardless of whether it's, you know, in the, you know, the Premier League season. It's always nice to come out of a game of football as a fan or as a player knowing that you've won that game. So, you know, to go the entirety of pre-season unbeaten is definitely a positive. As I said, performances haven't been particularly exciting, and I think the performance again on Saturday was one that there's definitely sort of improvements to be made, and that is something that we've known anyway. I don't think anybody was under the illusion going into Saturday that we were going to see a performance that we sort of sat back and went, oh my god, this is completely different to anything we expected. Sporting had moments in the game where they were the better team, moments in the game where they looked sharp, where they looked bright, where they were getting at Everton, but you know, we defended relatively well in those periods. I think it was good to see Dominic Calvert-Lewin get back out there, although he didn't do a massive amount. for the time that he was on the pitch. Of course, it's a massive step forward for him to be on the pitch in the first place. He got the goal, of course, scoring the penalty, which was great to see as well. And as I said, it's a big step for him to have been on there for sort of 60 minutes. He played 45 not so long ago, and for him to have been on there for 60 minutes was obviously a massive step in the right direction. Sean Dyche has come out and said that he won't be, he's highly doubtful that he'll start against Fulham next week, but we'll wait and see on that one. All as we can sort of take is that he got out there, he played 60 odd minutes, he got a goal. He mightn't have done an awful lot, he didn't do an awful lot of running, he didn't do an awful lot of moving, but he got out there, he got himself a goal, and ultimately he got some really important minutes in the tank, which is fantastic. I thought, as I said, I thought we made a couple of good bits of defending. I thought Jordan Pickford had a couple of good moments, couple of good saves. One towards the end of the game where he tipped it over the bar, which was a really impressive save. He made sort of one in the first half as well, and he needed to be there for standard saves, but moments that you expect Jordan to be alive for, and moments you expect Jordan to be ready for, and sometimes in pre-season that that isn't the case, whereas it was on Saturday, and that obviously is really good to see. I was really impressed with Amadou Onana, and have been really impressed with Amadou Onana in the last few games. I think he has been the sort of bright spark, and I've said a couple of times in these sort of match reaction videos after pre-season games that we haven't really learnt anything, and that was because I don't think we have learnt anything. We know that this team is still severely lacking quality going forward. We know that in wide areas we're extremely poor. I thought, again, in wide areas on Saturday we didn't really offer anything. I don't think Alex Iwobi was particularly good, particularly effective. It's quite clear that we are screaming out for a wide player. I know we've obviously got Arnold Danjuma there, who didn't play any part on Saturday because of an injury, and hopefully he's back in time for the game against Fulham, but we certainly are screaming for more options in wide areas, and obviously just in forward areas in general. But as I said, I feel like Amadou Onana has really sort of come along in the last few weeks or so, and again, I feel we are at the stage now with Onana where it is highly unlikely that he will be sold. There's been a rumour today surrounding Manchester United potentially being interested in him, which is, again, I'm sure we will get those sort of reports, and we will get those rumours between now and the end of the transfer window, because he is a player that I'm sure a lot of teams will be sniffing around towards the last couple of weeks of the transfer window to see if they can get their hands on. But I think Everton would put themselves in a pretty perilous position to sell him now, considering we would then have to go out and bring in a replacement for him, and we already have to go out and bring in sort of another centre forward, another winger, potentially another centre back. So I think we're at that point now where any sort of any report or rumour about Amadou Onana leaving the football club, I don't think Everton would want that to happen. Now, obviously, it becomes a completely different situation if the player wants to move and he forces to do a move, etc., etc. But again, I don't necessarily get the feeling that Amadou Onana is particularly, particularly wanting to leave the football club, or desperate to get out of the football club. So if we can keep a hold of him, this could be a really important season for him. I thought he was impressive the other day. As I said, he had a chance where he was very unlucky at the post after a really good move. He had another one where he could have shot, but he didn't. He played it out, and he was kind of the focal point again on Saturday, and he's been the focal point for a number of pre-season games. He obviously got the winner a couple of weeks ago, last week, in the 96th minute, and as I said, he's been a player that I've watched a lot over the last few weeks in the games in which he's featured, and I actually think he's done really well. He's been the one player that I've looked at and I've sort of, when everybody else I've sort of gone, well, yeah, I expected that performance from them. I've looked at Amadou Onana and gone, well, actually, do you know what? He done well today. He worked hard. He put himself about. He controlled the ball. He sort of he influenced the game, and I think that's something that could be massively beneficial to Everton going forward next season. Is far too many times last season, Amadou Onana was not influential in any way, shape or form on games of football, whether that be positively or negatively. Now, obviously, we want Amadou Onana to be a positive influence on games of football, but there were many games last season where he wasn't a positive or a negative because he didn't have an influence on the game, and that meant that for the majority of the time he was just there, taking up a space, whereas, and again, it's pre-season, and you can't take a lot from pre-season, and, it's all about fitness and etc., and obviously the level level of opponent that we've been playing against is nowhere near as good as what it will be when we play in the Premier League. However, I think Amadou has been much more sort of controlling. I think he's been much more responsible. I think he's been taking the game by the scruff of the neck a lot more, and hopefully this is his season now where we start to see him having influence on games of football. And I don't blame him for not really having much influence last season, because firstly, it was his first season in the Premier League, his first season in England, new country, etc., etc. It's a big change for a young player, especially a young player who hadn't played a massive amount of football in the first place. He'd only played something like 60 professional games before he joined Everton Football Club, so I don't blame him for not having much influence. I'm just saying it as it is, and the fact is he wasn't particularly influential last season. However, I think he will be a lot more influential this season. I think we've seen in the last couple of weeks of pre-season games what he can bring and the type of influence he can have on a game of football, and I've been really impressed with him. And yeah, like I said, ultimately it's a win. And although, the win and winning these types of games isn't necessarily the primary target, it's about fitness, and it's about, getting the team ready and getting the players ready for the start of the Premier League season. It is still always nice to come away with a win. And, ultimately we've been able to go the entirety of pre-season unbeaten. Hopefully we can, that'll give at least a little bit of confidence and a little bit of assurance going into Saturday's game against Fulham. And, like I said, same thing I said after Stoke, same thing I said after Wigan, same thing I said after Bolton. We didn't really learn much from Saturday. All we learned is we need to bring people in attacking areas. Now, obviously, Yusuf Chimiti is somebody that will be coming through the door in the next couple of days, we can assume, and whether or not he has an instant sort of impact on the starting 11 or the matchday squad on the weekend, we will wait and see. But we need more than a 19-year-old lad from Portugal who is massively inexperienced, to say the least. We need, for me, another centre-forward, out-and-out centre-forward, and we need at least one more winger. And that is with the Mardi Gray still staying at the football club. If the Mardi Gray leaves, then we need two more wingers. And I think that what pre-season has showed us is that we still are incredibly lightweight in forward areas. Now, obviously, James Tarkowski hobbled off on Saturday. Hopefully that isn't anything too serious. Hopefully that was just a case of him having a little bit of a knock and them not wanting to take a risk. But, we can only hope and pray that he's fit for the game against Fulham. I thought Branthwaite was okay. I thought he made a couple of little mistakes, couple of little errors, but I thought he was okay. But again, completely different test next weekend. So, look, we won the game, and we ultimately finished pre-season unbeaten, and with another clean sheet, which is good. I don't think there's many things that we've learned from it, in the same way as I don't think there's been many things that we've learned from any of the pre-season games, really, that we didn't already know. But it was a different type of test. Less physical in terms of straight, hard challenges, and more technical test. And I think Sporting, for part of the game, we're the better team, and we're technically much better than Everton, and are technically much better than Everton. But ultimately we got through it, we won it, and hopefully we can take that and that little bit of confidence into next week against Fulham. So there you go. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. We will be back with a transfer video very soon, so don't forget to look out for that one. Big thank you all for watching. Please do leave a like if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe if you are new, and we'll see you later.